at Pekins.
Do you remember the Depression?
Oh, yeah.
What do you remember about it?
Well, it was hard. We ate a lot of scraps. there wasn't much handed out for nothing, like they do now. You're getting your stamps for off of different things, and you live better than having a time that we had when we had a shutdown or something like that. That was tough.
What about streetcars? Do you remember the streetcars?
Oh yeah, I can remember streetcars.
Did they go everywhere?
Oh yeah, well they had tracks. Do you ever remember? I don't think you're old enough. Remember the time they built the Elk on the corner of Broadway and Main? They had an Elk built during the Elks convention.
1913.
And they had an Elk built right in between the streetcar tracks. Now, and that was a big Elk. The sucker had legs that the streetcar could go under it. Went under the damn thing and went around. And I was always, we took pictures, But that was something that stayed for a year, and then eventually they tore it down. But it was an Elk and the streetcar going between the Elk's legs, and it was really pretty. And we never took time to take pictures.
I think there might be a picture of that around.
There was, somebody must have it,
Yeah.
And but it was a pretty Elk, and it was big Elk. His legs was as high as a streetcar because they had to drive in between his legs to get in off of the road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you know anybody who fought in the war in the Philippines? Any men?
Well, my uncle Tash Michaud, they call it Michaud now, but Michaud was in it. He was in the war, and he got bumped around someplace in some way, and he got hurt, and he eventually died from the injury, And but then my uncle Michaud, he was in the First World War, and he had his legs where your veins are in your legs, them veins he was in France, and he walked in so much mud and stuff during the war that those veins all got in two big lumps, lump here and a lump there, and then he had them cut out when he came back. But his legs never did work like you worked before because all those veins were out of there. But he drank a lot. he didn't care whether the veins were in or out.
With the French community, did they feel pretty strongly about the war in France?
No, you never heard much about them. Us kids,
Yeah.
we never paid much about that. We never paid much about it. In the war, they would be down to we used to have 5 railroads here. When I first moved here, we had 5 railroads. And we go down to there and see the guys get in with their funny hat and stuff, and all in wool. They were all in wool, and your army men had coats and pants and socks. I used to knit socks for them when I was going to school. I used to go up to the office there and get enough yarn to make a pair of socks, and every week I'd turn in a pair of socks. That's where I learned to do this friggin' stuff, and then now I'm not doing nothing.
What about vaudeville? Did you go to that a lot?
Oh yeah, and at Columbia Gardens, every night at the Columbia Gardens, the best dance hall in town. Had a wonderful dance floor on that Gardens.
Did you see any of the big actors coming?
Oh, all those big guys that come in to go to all the biggest musics and all them that there were in New York. It always come to the Gardens. Mm-hmm. And we'd always go to the Gardens again. One night we go to the Gardens, and my husband had a hat on, and it wasn't fitting him. It was awfully small. I said, "What the heck do you do with your hat?" He said, "I put it in with all the hats," he said, and I got my ticket. Here we got on the bus, on the streetcar, and Hank looks down there and said, "See that guy? his hat's over his ears. I'm going down to see if it fits me. It was his hat he had. See, he was got checked wrong. And I said, well, you got your hat back, Hank. And then they were wearing regular square hats, you know what I mean? And, hard hats. Oh, God.
Did you ever know Pelletier when he came to town with the New York Opera? He was French-American. Did you ever know him?
Oh, we met quite a few people, and we knew all the people that used to bring in the Empress up on Broadway. They used to have a theater there, and they'd bring in people for a week, and they'd play for the whole week. And they called the Empress Theater.
The Empress is where the bus depot was.
Yeah, it was where that was called the Empress. And then they'd always bring a bunch of people from New York or someplace, and they'd act for you for a whole week. And we knew all those actors, and they all came and stayed at our house, and they'd have a drink and eat with us, you know. And we knew every one of them, and they knew us. And one time we had our dog, and he was following this guy, and this guy had a stick, and he was going like this with the stick, I guess, and he was chasing the guy. And so he hollers to my mother, "Hey, Mary, what the hell's the matter with your dog out here? It's chasing me around." She said, "Well, drop the damn stick. He wants you to play with him with the stick." He dropped the stick, and the dog went someplace else because he wanted him to play with him. He put Hank had taken, let the dog bite the stick, and then whirl him, see, and he liked that. But he was scared that he was going to bite him, but he didn't.
Well, why is it that you knew the actors and actresses when they came through town?
Oh, they always came to the house.
Why did they come to your house?
Because they knew us. They were always introduced to us.
Why?
Every time that company would come in, they were always we'd be up there and they'd be introduced us, and we'd come down to the house. And
did you go to the plays?
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God, we used to go to all the plays. When, what was the girl's name that was the main one? She was pretty good. And she was a very good actress. And one time they had cut their hair, and I hadn't cut my hair yet. So they said, "Did you go cut your hair?" All the girls, their hair's cut. I said, "I'm not cutting mine." But I didn't. And but everybody was cutting their hair. No.
Now, did Hank work mostly in the donut shop, or did
No,
he
he
do
worked
something
at
else?
last when we owned it. He was the baker then, you know, he learned to be a baker, and he used to make the dough and everything for them. But he had a window that stuck out straight out in the front, and all you did is put your dough in the machine, and then the machine would take care of it. It'd make the donut, turn it over, and make it go around the deal once, and then turn it over. Then they'd turn them out, and we'd case them, and that's how we made the donuts. And we sold dozens and dozens and dozens of donuts. One late day when I was working there, and my husband was there doing something, and so the lady came in and said, "Oh, I made a mistake." She said, "Do you allow ladies in here?" I said, "What the hell do you think I am?" And so she said, "Oh, I'm awfully sorry." She said, "We'll have a dozen donuts." Fine. I packed her up a dozen donuts and gave to her. I said, "Don't ask that again." Because we had answers for everything.
Did you remember Miners Union Day?
Oh, yeah. Used to go to gardens, and I'd be the champion watermelon eater. Jesus, I was always watermelon from ears to ears. The Miners Union Day, and run. I used to be a pretty good runner. I was a skater for years, too. I got a picture up there. I was a champion skater of Montana for years and years.
Where did you travel to do that, or did all?
I went to Canada. I skated a girl from Canada, and she came here, and I skated her here. We used to have a Holland Rink down there where right where the bowling alley is on,
The Safeway store.
Well, there, and there used to be a skating rink there with a great big deal for the shade and that. Christ, I skated there years and years. And I said there used to be a big creek that crossed there. Well, there's where that big iron stuff, black stuff's hanging on the wall there. Well, that was where our skating rink was. And at 10 o'clock at night, they'd blow a horn, and then they'd take you off the ice and get you ready to go home. So they could flood the rink, and they had a horse, and they'd flood the rink with the horse. And, yeah.
Huh.